Welcome on in, everybody, to Sports Talk with Broads. I have so many thoughts. That was the longest Sunday game I've ever sat through in my entire life. I forgot Alec Bohm hit 2 home runs. I forgot Gene Segura gave you the lead, and he's running around first base like he's Joe Carter back in 1993, right? All of this stuff, it was there, but it seemed like 19 hours ago. I have a lot of wackiness involved right now in where I'm at, and I just feel like I'm in a fog, in a bit of a haze where I'm confused. I'm stuck out in the desert, and I need water because I'm so damn dehydrated, and it just looks like there's nothing for miles and miles and miles and miles. That's basically where my mind is right now after trying to process it all. I mean, the starting pitching this entire series was flat out not good enough. And part of that is because the Mets are a damn good baseball team. And then the other part is Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler. They did not prove that they were ready for that moment. And it stinks because Zach Wheeler did it the first time around, and I mean that by last week when we just saw the same team in Queens. He did not look good. And then he followed that up with another night where he did not look good. With Aaron Nola, I'll give him more of a free pass because the last series they did see each other. He did fantastic, and he was very sharp going with the best of them with Jacob deGrom. So I'm sorry. It's not as if he can never answer the bell, and I feel that Jack Wheeler can answer the bell. I'm just saying the last two, we did not get exactly what we were looking for. The moral of the story is your bullpen is very thin after learning about Sir Anthony Dominguez and then Corey Knebel weeks ago. I got laughed at because I brought up the fact that it's not so much right now losing Corey Knebel. It's what happens if one more guy goes down. What happens if there's one more bullpen arm that is not available for you, and what once was a strength becomes weaker. And the reason why it was an area that you felt good about is because of the amount of bodies. There's stellar guys back there. When Sir Anthony is healthy, and I have a big-time concern on what's going to happen with him. I mean, quite frankly, I have worst-case scenario in my mind. And with Corey Knebel, yeah, he did have some blow-ups, but he's still a steady arm for you. I'll take Corey Knebel in a game over Connor Brogdon. So before we get on Rob Thompson and act as if he's the reason why they lost today, if your debate is, well, if you kept this guy in for 1/3 of an inning and this guy goes one more inning and this guy gets 2/3, and if you do this for one, you know what you're saying? You're saying that you don't have enough guys right now. That's what it is. Yeah, no shit, David Robertson shouldn't be used in a back-to-back situation like that after he threw so many pitches the night before. But when he calls up the dugout from the bullpen and goes, I want the ball, you give the guy the ball. Don't sell me Sam Coonrod is some obvious answer. You know Sear wasn't an obvious answer. And that move, if you want to go down any road with Rob Thompson, I think the Sear move, because you end up making it 10-9 when the score was 10-8. Who knows if you don't go to Sear, if you see more home runs fly. But when he tells you what was going through the thought process, I can understand because he wants Coonrod. They don't have off day for a while now. Playing a lot. And if you use Coonrod tonight, do you have him available? While if you go Sear tonight, you still could have him. So that was kind of what was being broken down for us. It just stinks. I guess if you look at the cause and the effect, the reason why the bullpen was where they were, not just because of injuries, is because your starting pitching stunk. Kyle Gibson. Command issues, awful. You know, Bailey Falter, ironically enough, is the one pitcher that went the farthest for you and kept you most involved. While Schwarber's hitting triples, the dude's running around the bases, I guess his calf is fine. But it's hard to even engage in that victory because they go 1-3, and it's disappointing. I would have been okay with 2-2. I would have labeled it a fine weekend. It's fine. It's all right. I think there would probably be more of a heavy reaction than needed if you go 2-2 with the talent like this. But no doubt about it, that would have been all right. Instead, you just have this heartbreak And when you see Gene Segura trying to light the fire, you think you have it. And I don't blame Rob Thompson for going to David Robertson. I don't mind him saying, I want the ball. That's fine. That's one of those you can sleep easily at night. You get tucked in and you close your eyes and you're not double guessing yourself 1 second. We all beg for a guy that isn't too afraid of failing. We hate Ben Simmons. I'm not really liking Noah Syndergaard, and I'll probably touch on him tomorrow when he gets a chance to pitch against the Cincinnati Reds on whatever the hell happened this weekend. And I guess it doesn't really matter because whatever. We'll do that more in another time. He said, I demand it. He's been having a great season to this point. Please. This bullpen's brought us on a beautiful ride. Why? Well, because you had scary weapons that have nasty stuff. Alvarado's cutter is amazing, and I love the addition. And you have the rain delay, which made it, another 45 minutes long. It just kept dreading and dreading. The longest game in history, I swear to God. That was absurd. But that played a factor in it all. The Mets are killers, man. They're a different breed this year. So why did they lose this game? Sir Anthony Domingos goes down. Your starting pitching failed you this entire series, and the Mets are better than you. And they showed you what they can do. Whether you walk Pete Alonso or whatever, you got to get creative with what they have. And it's like, I'm afraid of this guy. We'll put him on first base. You miss a spot. Guys make you pay. And then the Mets make the plays that you can't. Bryson Stott gets picked off trying to steal second base, going on first movement. He's out at second. Same thing happens with the Phillies. Rhys Hoskins throws it over, and it's a little too high. A little too high? Sheesh. That's not pounding the problem enough. It was very high. Extremely difficult to make the play. That's unacceptable stuff. And we saw that all throughout the series. It would have been, as deflating as it is right now, it would have been the complete opposite if you were able to snag it. Gene steals the soul. And they were showing the highlight of the later AB where he faces Diaz. Oh, man. Would that have been sweet to land the ball in the same exact spot? But look, there's no crying about this. What are you going to do? Put your head down? If you watch UFC, all right, I just saw Usman get knocked the hell out by Leon Edwards. And there was, a minute left in the entire fight? It was a no-brainer lock that Usman was going to keep his belt. Until here comes a leg kick and closes the door. My man was blacked. He doesn't remember a thing. The reason I bring that up is, if you're the Phillies, what are you going to do? You got to keep going. You got to keep attacking. You got to play tomorrow. It's just that simple. You don't have time to cry that you lost another series to the Mets. You don't have time to compare yourself to that team. They're not as good as them. I can have multiple different feelings at once. I could acknowledge the opponent. I could be mad that they were playing a little flat compared to what I thought that they would do at home too, knowing that the Mets fans would be there and the electricity in the ballpark would be real. But those first two games, you're getting embarrassed, right? Despise that. On Friday night, I recorded a post-game show because I didn't want this to go all 4 games without being able to express my feelings. But you get bent over. And you get your top 2 pitchers there. And they just couldn't really wrap it up. Not as mad about Nola. Only because the same exact team he saw in his start before this latest one. And he shined remarkably. And all of us loved it. But Wheeler now, 2 times, 2 cracks at it. Wheeler finished with 5 1/3, 4 earned runs, 4 walks. Did he get squeezed behind the plate? I wasn't a fan of the umpiring. But that's still no excuses. You could tell as the game was starting to unravel a bit. You're up 4-0. No, you're not. You're up 7-4. No, you're not. And by the 8th, 9th inning, it's like, oh, man, it's inevitable at this point, right? So when I saw Gene, I'm going, holy hell. And then even when the Phillies got a couple base runners on, when they made it a one-run game again, I'm going, oh, are they going to tie this up just to have another painful loss? We've seen painful losses, and this game's flow matches that. It does. But I'm not as wildly devastated as maybe you would think, or maybe as I should be. I don't know. Because I'm kind of looking at the reasons. You saw what Rob Thompson had to deal with. It became a huge cluster, you know what, to make certain decisions out there for your pen. I just keep having a hard time wondering, well, why are you there to begin with? Outside of Sir Anthony feeling tightness. Without Corey Knebel's season ending. News pop up today on the Twitter sphere. Well, if you could get more length and starters can get into that seventh inning, instead, the Mets grind you down. But then it's one big domino. Really, it's almost like we're working backwards with the domino. I'm giving you where they are right now. I'm giving you the result, which is falling apart physically, breaking down. And then imagine, let's use TikTok or whatever video you're using on your iPhone, Snapchat or your standard camera that you switch to a video, and you hit the top domino and it falls, and then you play it in reverse. That's sort of what we're doing. So they're breaking down physically. Their starters aren't going very long. And then the Mets have more talent than you. And they're more ready for the moment. Believe it or not. The Mets are more ready than we gave them credit for. And if you just want to say the Mets will Met, that's fine. One team wins a championship. So me personally won't be I will be the one to make fun of them because that's what you do as a sports fan, but still acknowledge that we would trade places with that any day of the week if the Mets still make a run and fall eventually. That's not really the Mets metting if they win a series and, they're in the NLCS or whatever. I mean, I'm throwing up in my mouth just thinking about watching them compete in the most intense time of the year where the ballpark goes nuts and you see the rally towels going and, I guess I'm just setting myself up for it, knowing that it's eventually going to occur, but it stings. What also stings is watching Derek Hall look at one on the inside part of the plate, not even swinging. If you're going to go down swinging. Now, Diaz is throwing some heat there, 99 cheese, that was upstairs, and it was close to that inside corner, but way too close with the game on the line. Young player. He's getting thrown into the fire. Done a lot of great things. But this is all part of the growing pain. This is all part of the growing experience. Bryson Stott getting picked off there. It can't happen. But he needs to learn from doing this. And he's made some awful mistakes on the base paths. And I keep hearing this rebuttal. Blame Bryce Harper then, bros. Because he's the one that is uber aggressive, will always take second, and sometimes for the wrong. And he'll end up getting gunned out by about 6 feet. Yeah, but there's a difference between your Bryce and Bryson Stott. Because the percentage of Bryce doing it, it pans out and helps your team significantly more than when it hurts you. I don't know if Bryson Stott has fully grasped that concept yet on when to be. It'll come, and I still love the kid. And when I watch him hit a triple the other day, I mean, I'm juiced up. But those are the areas of the game that, just can't happen. Even though Starling, Marte. But once again, right, there's different levels to who's doing it. And if your argument is, well, Bryson Stott is attempting to be one of these guys, how can you knock him? I don't know. I just think he's got to be smarter there. There's a fine line in everything we discuss in the sports world and, quite frankly, in the universe in general. And there is a way that you have to toy this if you're Bryson Stott, more than I think what we've seen as of late. Yeah, just crazy. I'm looking at some of the doubleheader stuff with Wheeler and Schwarber with the triple and running around. I mean, there's a positive for you. He looked better than I guess I expected him to if he had to run. But my thoughts right now are on the bullpen. Alvarado, he's been really excellent. No denying it. And working in that new pitch has changed who he is. And when you're a batter, there's so many worries. It's location, it's velocity, and now it's what pitch is he going to throw. So clearly working that in is phenomenal. But everyone now gets pushed back. When Corey Knebel, Alvarado are more of a sixth inning role, seventh inning role, now you might have to trust them to be more 9-inning role, 8-inning role. I'm just saying, well, Knebel's not there for you, but I'm just saying that's where that shows you how many guys you had. Where you're telling me Corey Knebel slotted in a 6 or so, Jose Alvarado can be a 7th, can be an 8th, and were they trying to push him farther and got screwed up with the time? Yeah, and that's something you have to work around. It's an uncontrollable, though. Just kind of happens. That's Mother Nature playing its role here in the baseball game. It's the baseball gods making it that much tougher on Rob. Going back to the whole UFC combo here, though, and tying a bow on that. It's like, what are we going to do here? We going to bitch and complain, or are we going to get ready for the Cincinnati Reds? It sucks. It does. It's terrible. And you're allowed to feel awful. You're allowed to feel like you got kicked in the testicles. And I could understand that. I was going to say I could appreciate it. I don't want to appreciate anybody getting hit in the nuts. But you get my point. I'm just keep going. You know, the Brewers had some tough losses as of late. You got Aaron Boone with the Yankees punching a table as hard as he can in press conferences. This stuff happens. The Padres, well, they played the Nationals. And I don't know where they are right now. I guess we can just give it a look. I'm bringing up other teams just to show you, though, that it's not as if, well, it's only the Phillies that are having a rough go here. It's only the Phillies that are finding themselves in an uncomfortable position. Nope. The Brewers are having some struggles. Even though, looks like the Padres won 2-1 today. So the Padres did handle business there. And what was it? The Brewers won 5-2. But they had a horrible, horrible, horrible loss over the weekend, late in the game to Chicago, where there was a walk-off that occurred. What do? You show up to the ballpark the next day. Cliche, boring. Maybe you didn't expect that for me or from me. There's only so much you can do. I still enjoy this team. And I'm not giving up on them, saying they're crap. The first thing I saw when I started up this live stream, there was a comment that said, wow, Dave Dombrowski, you suck. David Robertson's back to his old ways. That makes no sense because his old ways was dominance. What we saw the first time around with this tenure wasn't really truly David Robertson. Do some research. How about that Corey Knebel signing? Before he got hurt, he was brutal. Not really. You thought he was worse than he really was. You're not giving him enough credit for when he did get himself out of the closer role and then earn some stability and get a little bit more respect. Gain some ground. If you look at Corey Knebel's game log, not that game logs tell you everything, because I even saw some yelling about Brad Hand. I'll tell you what, man. Phillies games, they could get nasty with everybody fighting with one another. The last time he allowed an earned run was August 2nd, Corey Knebel. That was the last time he allowed an earned run. He got beat up, but prior to that, you can date back to all of July, no earned runs for Corey Knebel. Couple walks thrown in there. He allowed 2 hits total in all of July. 2 hits. 0 earned runs. So, I mean, it was important. It was important. And I thought at the time of the trade deadline, that's interesting. I didn't expect to go bullpen. Very happy he did. And it just shows you his masterful mind. Not that he expected all of this to happen, but you have to think ahead of every possibility. What can and what can't. What has a high probability, what has a medium probability, what has a low probability. And then from there, let's see how we feel we can provide the best players to help out this ball club down the stretch. And, you know, I mean, it's crazy because your center fielder goes down. With Thor, no one got hurt within that, but He's afraid. He doesn't want it. He's being babied. And then, not as if David Robertson is causing any problems, but that area of the team. Was it cursed? Where if maybe we went for less, it wouldn't have happened by the baseball gods? I don't know. I'm just looking for answers here as I'm heartbroken. We have some anytime hotline calls, 856-442-9805. Promo code BROADS before we go to the phone lines at SeatGeek. Get you $20 off of your purchase. It's a no-brainer. Get yourself to a game today. It eliminates all those fees that you get when you buy your tickets. Like, I don't want to pay these fees. You don't have to. And you can put that money towards parking. So get yourself to a game today. All right, here we go. First anytime hotline.
Definitely a heartbreaker this weekend in general. One thing I can notice is our pitching just has to be better, man. Our one good pitcher was Bailey Falter, and it just showed what happened today and what happened this weekend in general. Just shows why it is so important for our starters to be going 7+. That Nola has been doing that well. Wheeler kind of struggled with that. But definitely struggles. Your bullpen's not going to be perfect every game. I'm not freaking out over David Robertson. We pitched that one dude, the new guy who threw the worst executed changeup I've ever seen in my life. That was literally just a 4-seam fastball. That was 84. Of course, it's going to get rocked. That was terrible. The hang the changeup, that was crazy. But I'm not worried. Let's go sweep the Reds. That's important. Wake up our bats, and we'll be good.
I'm not worried either. I think it's fine to have a lot happening where maybe there's just 7 different feelings occurring at once. You know, I'm mad. I'm bothered. I'm not happy. I'm aggravated. I'm a bit upset. Like, these are all real. That's in the now. That's in the time frame we're sitting at when recording this show. That's Sunday night. When we take a step back and kind of look at their fight for the wild card and their fight for the postseason, I'm not going to flip out and act as if now they can't do anything. Do I feel strong about them competing with the Dodgers and the Mets and, the top tier teams in the major leagues in a playoff? Of course. Of course I would be in a 7-game series. The Phillies aren't ready for that yet. And this series might be defining that for you. But that's okay. We can't go overboard. I think that there's a right bar, 1 to 10. 10 being, I can't stand this organization. F them. Losing your marbles. I'd say a 5? Something along those lines. If you replace the name Mets with the Dodgers, and the Phillies were at home against the Dodgers, or the Houston Astros, and they went 1-3 with a gut-wrenching loss in Game 4 instead of splitting your 1-3. Do you feel differently about it? And should you? Because maybe you could make the argument that who cares? It was the Mets. And because it's the Mets, it's irrelevant if it was the Dodgers, if it was the Astros, if it was another great team. Doesn't matter. Because when the Dallas Cowboys come around, if they have 0 wins and you see them in week 6, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Screw them. If it's the Giants, it's the Giants. Screw them. It just shouldn't matter. Once again, I think for the emotional pull on the Sunday night, fine. The grand scheme of things, let's keep your Phillies' reasonable thoughts in check. That's all. I don't think that that's too hard to ask or too much to say in general. All right, we'll take another call.
What did I just watch? We blew 3 leads in 1 game. I don't think you can use the excuse, this is what happens when your bullpen gets injured, blah, blah, blah. Connor Brogdon must have been sleeping or hoping the game was canceled during that rain delay. But he comes out, allows 2 hits and a 3-run dong back to back to back. What are you doing, man? What did you expect him just to lay down because it's been a long day or a long night last night? No, this is a good team. This is a great team. They're not just going to give you a free win. What are you doing? And Rob Thompson, have you take Robertson out and throw Sear in there? If anything, throw Coonrod in. It could have been tied at the end of the ninth inning. What did he just think, that we weren't going to score off Edwin? Edwin hasn't pitched in a week, and we got a run off him. Rob Thompson's an idiot for that.
Nah, I disagree completely. Now, I'm going to give this caller the benefit of the doubt in regards to maybe calling in before Rob Thompson explained himself on why he went this year over Sam Coonrod, because he is thinking about how many days they don't have off here, and they're going right back at it, so they're going to need bodies, knowing how toxic it was and how much they've been relied on in this series. I mean, you do have to look ahead, too. So, it's not the easiest decision in the world. I think he kind of did what he had to do, not what he wanted to do. I think he did what he had to do. You said that I don't want to just say that it's because our bullpen is starting to lose guys. No, that is what it is. I mean, that's what it is. It's reality. It's reality smacking you in the face. What was Connor Brogdon doing? Connor Brogdon isn't phenomenal. He's okay when he's on, but there are plenty of times when he's not. Why did you have to go to Connor Brogdon? You don't want to. It's just something that ends up by default because I'm limited. And I got to look ahead because guess what? I'm not going to use him in the ninth. I got to get to the ninth and then get to another dude like David Robertson. And the more and more I think about it, I love the fact that Rob Thompson went with David Robertson. I love the fact. I wouldn't want it any other way. I fully accept it. I fully love it. And I would live with whatever happens. Like, this guy's been a shining star out of the pen this season. He calls the pen, and even if he didn't call the pen, or the dugout from the pen, and I figured he did. I figured he screamed, I wanted it. But let's say he didn't. It's like, these type of dudes, how are you going to look them in the eyes and go, no. This isn't Nick Pivetta. This isn't David Hale. This isn't some bum. And even with the workload, it's fine. Some guys earn that pass. Some guys earn that respect. David Robertson's been around for a long time. If he says skip, right here, I'm getting it. That's it. You listen. Yes, sir. And then what happens is what happens. He took his accountability, and I love it. I love that we have here's the positive. You have someone like that in your pen. And I bet you it works more than it doesn't work. He said he actually felt better today than he did when everything panned out beautifully. Or panned out. Maybe I'll describe it that way. Sometimes it just happens. But the mental makeup of that guy around, I think it goes a long way. All right. Here we go. Another call.
Wow, what a catastrophic, soul-stealing loss right there. I'll admit, it was a great baseball game, but from the Phillies' perspective, no way on God's green earth do you lose that baseball game. It seriously felt there's at least 3 situations where the Phillies had the game won. They had the game won, and they blew it time and time again. I just hope that this loss doesn't have the same kind of effect that this team had when they blew that game 7-1 in May, because they need to rebound from this, and they can't be sulking on this. They got to come right back strong.
I don't see this any way, shape, or form close to that 7-1 loss. Has a very unique feel to it. I won't run away from those thoughts, but definitely not as soul-crushing as others. I'm not ready to be convinced that this is now the collapse. Oh, they collapse every year. How is losing to a way better team a collapse? A collapse would be getting swept by Cincinnati, just like that Arizona series last year that I will continue to date back to. And that Cubs series, no. I mean, if you look at those two, mano y mano, they don't relate. Cubs after the All-Star break, Diamondbacks last year. Completely different stories. This isn't a collapse. It sucks. You didn't play as tough as expected. First 2 games, you got slapped in the face. And it was bad. So, disheartening. This doesn't scream collapse. Doesn't mean it's impossible to collapse. But this series, this is just losing to a team that's better than you. You probably could have played them harder. Maybe still results would have occurred, but you could have played a better brand of baseball throughout the series. But does that define where the Phillies are? They're a step below right now. Good spot with the full timeline in mind. But still have to go through this type of stuff. If they were healthy, maybe it changes it all. Because winning this game and being 2-2 is even a way different tone than where we are right now. So maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. Because healthy, 2-2, you feel. You feel. You do. You feel. Yeah, you lose the first 2. Top dogs on the bump. You win the next 2. You show balls. You're accepting. Just with 2 players not hurt. And by the way, this whole thing with Bryce, and but that's a whole new topic because he's been out of it for quite some time. But anyway, that's kind of my thoughts. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys this week. Touching base on everything that's happening with